Namaskar. A very warm welcome each one of you. I'm Sapna Sangra joining you from Jammu, and I have the pleasure of hosting one of the renowned, spectacular dancers of Bharatanatyam, Chitra Visveswaran, and she's joining me from Chennai. Along with her, we have enthusiastic volunteers. We have Damini joining from Bangalore. We have Dakshina joining us. I can also see Apurva joining us. I think Chitraji, most welcome. And to let you know, I didn't have any meditation session today morning because I knew I'm going to have this 1 hour with you. So this is yeah, so this is going to be an extraordinary hour for all of us. And just to let you know, Chitraji, this time, as you know, we could not hold our convention at Kanpur due to the situation. And we, decided to go in for the online mode. And we got a wonderful response. We have more than 50,000 volunteers who registered us online, and I'm sure because they are joining us with their families. So I'm sure for them, for the beginners who just joined SPIC MACAY, who are on the, who are pursuing classical music and dance, for them this is definitely going to be a treat.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, so welcome everyone. And to begin with and to set our discussion rolling, may I request Damini to introduce Chitraji. I mean, of course, she doesn't need an introduction, but if she can just briefly tell us something about her to our audience.
Thank you, Sapna ji. Namaskar and good morning to one and all present here. Dancer par excellence, Padma Shri Srimati Chitra Visveswaran is a world-renowned Bharatanatyam danseuses. She underwent rigorous training under the illustrious gurus Srimati T.A. Rajalakshmi and Varavur Sri B. Ramaya Pillai. She did her Arangetram, which is the first debut performance, within 10 months of training under Guru Srimati T.A. Rajalakshmi, choreographed her first piece at the age of 11. A child prodigy indeed. She has undergone a deep-rooted training in dance and music, covering Western ballet, Manipuri, Kathak, Rabindra Nritya, Rabindra Sangeet, Carnatic music and theatre. Chitraji, along with her husband, R. Vishweshwaran, founded the Chidambaram Academy of Performing Arts and has trained many dance aspirants across the globe. She has appeared in solo and presented at several prestigious venues and festivals across India and the globe, including the United Nations, UNESCO Paris, Festivals of India in the USA and USSR, the French Opera, amongst many others. She dons several hats as a scholar who has immensely contributed in dance research and revival of traditional pieces, as a composer, a lyricist who has composed pieces for dance and dance dramas. She also serves as a trustee and on expert committees of several government and private institutions. Chitraji has been honored with several awards nationally and internationally, including the prestigious Padma Shri conferred by the President of India, Central Sangeet Natak Academy Puraskar, Kalaimamani Award from the Tamil Nadu government, Nritya Chudamani from Krishna Gana Sabha, Natya Kala Acharya from the Music Academy, Japan Foundation Award for Excellence, Nritya Ratnakara by Cleveland Tyagaraja Festival, Ashakala Bhushanam by Pujya Shri Swami Saraswati, to name a few. We are extremely happy to welcome Srimati Chitra Visveswaran ji, who is a personification of sadhana, grace, and finesse to this beautiful discussion today.
Chitraji, I think Damini could just go on. It's such a long list of accomplishments, isn't it?
Let's go on to the questions.
Yeah, so I think Chitraji, I'm intrigued after hearing Damini. Arangetram at such a tender age and within such a short span of time. So, I mean, I would be like interested to know, like, of all the dance forms available, what is it that attracted you towards Bharatanatyam, and what does it take for a student to accomplish what you did at such a tender age?
Uh, well, I was probably too innocent to do all that analysis at that age, too naive and too much of a child. But I must say, I think my taking up Bharatanatyam seriously is probably because of my parents. See, we were first in England, and when we were in England, uh, Ram Gopal, the great Ram Gopal, refused to teach me because I was only 3, and instead he taught my mother. And I was taught Western classical ballet. Then we shifted to Kolkata, where I started learning Kathak and Manipuri and Rabindra Nritya. It was at that time when I was 10 that my mother heard of one of the uh, greatest Devadasis of Tirudai Mardur having settled in Kolkata. She was brought over there by the Tagore family, sent there by Ariyakudi Ramanuja Iyengar. She was the Prathama Shishya of the great Kuppaya Pillai of Raja Rajeshwari Bharatanatyam Kala Mandir, Mumbai, Bombay in those days. So when they heard she was there, my mother was the first person who heard it. Then my parents decided to start classes for me in Bharatanatyam. I think this stems from the fact that when you are away from your direct roots and you are living elsewhere, in a bid to retain your culture and to give it was being in Kolkata away from Tamil Nadu was quite a distance. So Bharatanatyam, Carnatic music, going to Harikathas, all these were what kept us with our tradition and our parampara. And that is how I was put into Bharatanatyam. And after 10 months, I must tell you, it was after 8 months that my mother was called for by my guru. And she was told, I think we can do an arangetram for your daughter. It wasn't my parents asking, but my guru set the date for the arangetram. And it was then that my father got very worried. He said, you think this girl will do an arangetram? Even in a little performance for our railway club, we say, Baby Chitra. It was like things like that those days. Baby Chitra will perform. But Baby Chitra at the last moment always lets us down. Do you think she will let us down in the arangetram also? He was really worried. And in fact, there was a substitute organized, one of my friends, who would dance in case I decided I couldn't face the audience. But once the music started, I was totally with it, and I haven't looked back since then.
So
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
I said such a beautiful entry. Dapini, yeah, you would like to go next?
It will be nice if you can share some instances on how you went about your initial training, because nowadays, in the era of smartphones and internet, for us it is very easy to get and capture information. Dancers generally take videos of practice and during classes so that they can remember later and do self-practice. And if you need to know information on any composition, with just one Google search, we can get thousands of answers. So how different was your training?
Very, very different indeed. I think the key word is information. Because you have a lot of information, but are we able to put it through the sieve of discernment, of auchityam, of aesthetics, and get the essence of knowledge from it? See, the days have changed. Nobody has that sort of time that we spent with our gurus. It was, yes, definitely, the technological aids are there. I do understand that they can be very helpful, but I would use them just as memory aids, because there is nothing like learning face to face with your guru, because it's not just the item, the physicality of it that you learn, or just the intellectual background by researching about different poems, different sahitya, you read about it. So it's an intellectual quest. It is, you understand what emotion there is, you learn all the technicalities, and then you becomes a mental and an emotional discipline. But then this the spirit of it can happen only in transference in person. And I think that happened a lot for us, because more than learning the actual piece, the background against which it was composed, the personal sharing that was there. For instance, I'll never forget how a particular jati, which Rajalakshmi teacher taught me. We used to call her Rajalakshmi teacher. She's from the parampara, the traditional hereditary custodians of dance from that parampara. And she told me that this very beautiful jati, it was a very small one. And as a memory, I have retained that bit in a jati that I have worked. I have worked the preface of the jati and worked the body of it, and kept this at the end in memory, and out of great respect for that tradition. She told me how they used to go from place to place for performance, usually wedding performances, temple performances. They used to go in the bullock cart, Matavandi. So while they were going in the Matavandi, Guru Kuppayar Pillai composed this jati and taught it to her. So, such a beautiful memory, that the transference. You may read about it. I may write about it, you may read about it. But I think when you face to face, your guru tells you that, it is such a transference. Again, with the great Varu, Ramya Pillai was one of the greatest visionaries of Bharatanatyam. The way he would teach me, people would think, these people waste their time, but it's not that. There was far more depth in the teaching. See, he used to teach something, and then he would sit down at his puja and we'd be waiting. Then he'd just say, look out of the window. Or he'd say, while we were very few of us, just 2-3 of us studying with him at that time, and he would take us, give individual thrusts for each one of us. He would say, after a class, think, go home thinking. So, we youngsters, saucy, we used to say, Vadyarappa knows only one English word, think. And he tells us to think. But no, as you grow older, you realize how important it is, that introspection, that revisiting, that internalization. Everything together is meditation. We virtually used to meditate upon the piece. And we would not get item by item like that. This performance, we've done this Varnam. Next performance, you must do another Varnam. And there is so much peer pressure, societal pressure for youngsters, I think, from the sabhas and the organizers. Don't do the same old thing. But you see, just realize you can bring freshness to the same piece when done again and again. And that's just how our creativity was awakened by these great gurus. The time we spent over each piece, chewing the cud. Even normally, digestion starts in the mouth, not when after you swallow the food. But you need to chew the cud. You need to really take it into yourself. And I think that was a great blessing to be able to do that. And spending time with them, learning of their personal experiences. And you realize it has never been easy for artists when they share those experiences with you.
How beautifully put, Akka. So we were actually transported back into your childhood days. We felt like we are also learning with you. So moving the discussion.
Thank you to SPIC MACAY, because it made me revisit so many instances from my past.
Sure. So one thing very interesting about your journey is the breadth of training that you have undergone in various genres of music and dance. Similarly, many students enroll for classes in dance, music, martial arts, fitness, instruments, etc. Can you tell us how this experience has shaped you as a student during your studying time, and then in your life, and now as an artist?
When you talk about the width of my training, the band, I almost thought for a moment, am I a jack of all trades? But no, that wasn't how it was, because it covered a period of time. At each period in my life, like for instance, in England, it was I learned Western ballet, and from my mother, I learned the Rabindra Nritya style of dance and a little bit of Bharatanatyam. So, and then pre-Bharatanatyam, I learned Manipuri, Kathak, and Rabindra Nritya. Post coming into Bharatanatyam, I concentrated on Bharatanatyam and Rabindra Nritya, and very little on Rabindra Nritya comparatively. But since I'd already had quite a lot of background of it, and being in Kolkata, that was necessary. But I did learn Carnatic music. I did learn Rabindra Sangeet, and like most artists, good at one thing or good in most other art forms. I used to paint. I used to write. I used to write poetry, and then my mother was in amateur theatre, so that is how I got into amateur theatre also. But it wasn't as though I did. Nowadays I feel children are losing their childhood because you're rushing from tuition school to tuition class to party class to dance class to painting class to kickboxing to martial arts. Everything is being done at the same time. You should be able to have little time to internalize on what you are learning. So yes, it has been a very broad bandwidth that I have undergone and experienced, and I did find that study and experience of the cognate art forms have complemented my own dance. It is complemented. I didn't go from the inside of Bharatanatyam outside searching for your dance, but subconsciously it's there within you. So it just seeps into your dance and makes your dance what it is. And finally, your dance is what you are. It reflects what you are. So how did it help me in my studies? Well, as a dancer, you have to be very sharp. You have to think on your feet. You should know your mathematics. You should have presence of mind. Like they say, you actually at any point in time, you learn that you have to have a great presence of mind. Again, the lobes, the right lobe, the left lobe, which is something that is talked about everywhere today. Both the lobes are activated when you have dance and your education, dance or any art form. And I think because of that, you become that much sharper. You become that much quicker. There is so much, and as you want to know more and more, there is so much, you seek so much more at different levels. And I think it enriches you as a person. And I think definitely more time to dance and music. I wanted to finish everything in time so that I wouldn't waddle and waste time which I could give for dance and music. That where my academics is concerned. When life is concerned, I think it teaches you to be a good competitor. It teaches you to be a good loser, because success is not all about winning. Success is also about learning to live, coexist, and hold hands, especially like in these these times of the pandemic, we all have to hold hands. We all have to support each other. You, it has taught me, well, besides the skills at various levels, it gives you, it, it has enabled me to understand people better, because characterization is something that we always play around. And even when we talk about the Ashtanayikas and Navarasas, these are ever relevant. It's just those words that put off people. But when you look at the essence of it, they are timeless. And you understand humanity better. You understand your colleagues better. You understand that you have to forever keep pushing up the bar. And I think it has taught me how to not to expect the same from everybody. Each person is his or her own self. So, and over and above everything, it has opened dance to me. Dance and music to me have been like a window which has opened out my mind to a larger culture, not just Indian culture, but culture the world over, because everything is finally interlinked at the very basics, and not maybe at the ultimate. Each culture has its own philosophy.
Wow, what we got was a zip-sized folder with abundance of moral values and lessons for us to take away. I'm sure we'd watch this video multiple times to kind of get the essence of what you've said. Very, very beautiful. Moving forward, there is a lot of emphasis on being a performer in Bharatanatyam. You very briefly touched upon how the sabhas keep expecting like about new dance pieces when it comes to the dancer and things like that. So you are not just a performer, but also a scholar. So can you share with us, or rather educate us, on what are all the associated fields of study in Bharatanatyam apart from the performing aspect?
The performing aspect, to me, is only one aspect of Bharatanatyam. There is so much more to it. If you need to be remembered even as a performer, there have to be various shades and levels to you. There should be depth. And how does this depth come about? What are the fields that are associated with it, which the cognate art forms, and what are the venues open to us? Not just venue as in performance space, but what can we think of doing besides performing, but still be associated with dance? See, the point is, you see, because dance is only thought of as, very often only thought of as performance, to me that's like exam orientation. Do we study because we want knowledge, or do we study because we want to score marks, do the exams well, and get good placement in your life, whatever? Just performance would be like an exam orientation, but there are the cognate art forms. Articular conference, I think it was 96, 97. 1 year, the theme then was, now it's being done, it's quite prevalent having this theme. Dance is an interdisciplinary activity. So you see, first of all, music. It is very directly associated with dance. So if you equip yourself with music, not just here, but here, very important. Because let me just go back to that experience with the gurus to refer to this. Because when you learn from the video or YouTube, it is a physical experience and it can become just a physical memory. But you see, there is something much more important to the dancer, which is the body memory and the memories of the heart, which is what gives feeling to your dance. Now, even today, even if I'm sleeping, you wake me up and say, Chitraka, I want to learn this particular piece. Can you just tell me what it is about? If you ask me like that, I can't. I would have probably totally forgotten it. If I want to revive it, I don't look at a book. I stand up and dance because my muscle memory and body memory and the memories of in my heart, which have been awakened in me when I did that piece or choreographed it, come alive. So similarly, there are so many things with cognate art forms which enrich your dance. Now, music enriches you. You can also train, if you've got a good voice, to become a good dance musician. If you've got skills, rhythmic skills, you can be a good mridangist, you can be an instrumentalist, you can do natvangam. It's very important also to do natvangam for a dancer because it improves your skills as a dancer. I found that because I come from a parampara where Barura was known for the musicality of his natvangam, the cadences, the stresses, the ups and downs of sound, the musicality of it, very enchanting in his presentation. And I feel that is the spirit of his natvangam. So that would enrich your dance. It would also give you a career, a side career, because mind you, being a dancer has never been easy because you've always had more expenses than what you earn, except for one very short span in your life when you are right at the top. Because till such time you're struggling. After that, everybody is always asking you to do performances for charity. So you need to have additional skills. Besides these, you see, you can become a researcher. You can research, you can document. And today, lighting design and sound design play a very, very important part in performance. So you could specialize in that. Then there is, of course, dance, music, and the theater arts are used for empowering children, adults, and adults with special needs. So that's yet one more step you could take. I think it's very important to empower oneself holistically, not only just to be aware, but to be deeply involved in the sense of making it your own and understanding it from here. A very good dancer has got the opportunities that they deserve, okay? You have to be seen at the proper time, at the proper moment, by the proper people. There are so many brilliant dancers. Why artists? But they are not known as much as the well-known dancers. That is the quirkiness of fate. Having said that, it is a performing art. How can you tell a dancer, no, you shouldn't bother about performance, but you must dance for yourself in your dance studio or your drawing room or wherever. You must not have such desires. How can you say that to a youngster? A youngster is bound to want to dance. It's a performing art. But then it's not necessary to perform 30 days out of 31 in a month to be a performer. You can just do 4 exclusive performances. In our days, when we were young, performances were not so numerous. We used to have an average of, when we were in our teens, 4 performances a year. And the time between the performances was used to enhance the quality of our dance, enrich ourselves. And so there was a difference from performance to performance. There would be a growth. And with too much, see, the emphasis on learning goes down, the emphasis on seeking goes down, the emphasis just turns to presentation. And what happens if you are not lucky enough to be seen at the proper time by the proper people? You can become very bitter if you desire that sort of a high-flown career. you can be very disappointed. Why? Why? When you're young, see, you have to realize at every stage in your life, you need to let go. You see, and you'll never be a frustrated dancer if you have knowledge of all these other cognate art forms. And you can, as I said, I left out two important things. You can become a good choreographer, you can become and her dance, or his dance per se. Oh, so many cognate art forms.
Chitraji, I think with each line that you've spoken, there is a message, there's a value. I mean, that is the sense that I'm getting, and I feel that no book, no Google site, and nothing can give us this knowledge that you are giving us, because this can only come from somebody who's given a life to this kind of art form. So, Chitraji, as you said, there are challenges involved. Do you think that it is deterring our present generation to take up this kind of disciplined art form? Are they scared? If at all, what is your message to them, like how to overcome? And if they are determined, they must take up this. Otherwise, in times to come, we might just lose all of this wealth that we have.
I think this discipline, which is a fivefold discipline, begins by being physical, mental, emotional, intellectual, and at its best, spiritual. See, it is something which I think discipline is very necessary for success in any walk in life. And this disciplines you at so many levels. So I do think it's the unique heritage of our country. How many countries have 8 classical dance forms? How many countries? Even if they have one classical ballet, they're lucky. But here we have so many classical dance forms, we have so many folk dance forms, traditional dance forms. I think these are what we are. When you're young, you may not realize it, but I think we all need to support these youngsters who want to go into it. Begins with support at home, support from the teachers, the gurus, society, friends. Hold their hand when they are when they are feeling down, because yes, it's not as though everything will be hunky-dory, but then when the fruit is plucked finally, it is that much more sweet. So I think if you want to understand yourself, and I think this journey in SPIC MACAY is all about you're even beginning on the journey of wanting to know yourself and finally becoming. So it can be discouraging, but I don't think one should get discouraged. For instance, I'm sure you will ask me what can they do in this pandemic? We don't even know what the future of dance is. Well, why the future of dance? No one knows what anybody's future is. It's not just the dancer, it's just not the musician, it's everybody. They don't know, even the big corporates don't know where they're going, what is the future. But, it's like a hiatus. So often we do have a hiatus in our lives, personal issues which make you keep away from dance. I'm just referring to dance because that is what we are talking about today, and that has kept you away from it. But then it is the strength that dance has given you that keeps you going. So it's not as though everything is over. It's just we need to revisit and reinvent ourselves. Okay, for instance, let me give a very simple example. Now, we have all been trained to dance on stage. The approach to even the treatment of space is so different from stage to stage. You're on one of an Elizabethan stage, or you're on a rectangular stage, or you're on a box-like stage, or you're a proscenium stage, or you're an open space. The use of space has to differ from one space to the other. Now you are in virtual space. The virtual space is everywhere. For us, it is this. So you need to reinvent your dance, your choreography. You need to revisit it. How do you handle the space you have now? So what is life? It is your space. And you learn to rehandle it. You learn to rehandle your dance, and you bring your other skills and strengths. One very important skill every dancer can and should, if they have a knack for it, develop is writing skills. I spoke about other skills, including special needs, but writing skills. We have so the number of critics are so few, and good writers on dance can be counted in one hand. So that being it, if the writing skills could be developed, and if you have discernment and you are unbiased, the sky is the limit. So you harness all those skills, and very often you find dancers, and not just dancers but also teachers, and they teach but through teaching, if you look at teaching not just as something that puts bread and butter on the table, but and if you enrich yourself so much, what you realize, I have come to learn so much through the teaching, that the four dancers, same thing doesn't suit four of them, not only physically, but I'm talking about the internal person. So you learn, and your own dance improves with that. So teaching is another skill I think everyone should develop, not as a commercial gain, but first to supplement and also as a complementary skill.
Thank you so much, Chitra ji. And because you mentioned SPIC MACAY, and that's the platform that that is connected, the east west, north south, and in fact globally. So could you share some of your memories with SPIC MACAY, how you got into this, how you got involved, and I mean, how this journey has been with you?
It's wonderful memories. And I was just thinking the other day, it was 1985, and the Festival of India was starting in the USA. And I had to go to Malaysia and Singapore on a trip just before that. And Sharda Ramanathan, who was instrumental in the now Chennai, then Madras chapter of SPIC MACAY being born, she meets me at some function in Music Academy, and she says, "We want you to do something for SPIC MACAY." And then I say, "But Sharda, I have so much to do before I go abroad. I don't think I'll have the time. You to be part of this initial presentation." So, one thing I must say, the SPIC MACAY volunteers, your heart goes out to them. They're so passionate. And so I said, "Okay, I will do this for you." And I think that hooked me onto SPIC MACAY. You see, being able to address youngsters who are the future of our country. They are the future. People from my generation we can guide, but then the youngsters are the future. And it began with that. And I have toured so many states in this in this country with SPIC MACAY. I have had experiences of performing in the belt, Amba, in, I think it's Madhya Pradesh, where Valmiki was there, the great sage. And and I remember once I was doing a lecture demonstration in a school which is totally Hindi speaking. Those days there weren't many Bharatanatyam dancers who spoke Hindi and Bengali fluently. Nowadays, yes, so many of you all. But because I grew up in Kolkata, I was fluent in both languages. I used to be sent to such belts. And I remember, chatting with these children, an interactive session, and I'm saying, Takita is 3 beats. So, So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then ta, ki, ta, and all of them getting involved in the panchajatis, panchanade, and I was having a ball because I'd go to guesswork and do different movements and say, now you tell me, and it sort of taught me how to handle children. And then I saw outside on the wall of the school guys sitting in dhoti and handlebar mustache and sitting and watching. So I said, "Ye log kaun hai?" And then I was told they were Phulan Devi's gang. And at that time, Phulan Devi, the lady dacoit, was, wreaking havoc everywhere. Similarly, I remember in Ranchi, Patna, in that section, traveling in trekkers with my musicians. We used to travel all over in trekkers. We didn't travel AC and fly. We traveled second class. We traveled by road. We traveled in jeeps. We traveled in trekkers. But we never felt that it was a strain, because at the end of it, when you address the youngsters, it was something very, very fulfilling. So we used to travel in trekker from place to place. And even today, when I perform somewhere, even abroad, I remember when I performed for SPIC MACAY abroad, some youngster coming and telling me, "Ma'am, I was there at your lecture demonstration at PSBB. That is what made me so passionate about Bharatanatyam." So, I mean, that is much more than an award that you can get, because there is one person whom you have inspired. And there have been so many youngsters, and at those days, the SPIC MACAY found it very difficult with budgeting. Still finds it very difficult. I know, because costs go up, but sponsorships never do. But they used to beg people for guest houses, rest houses. We used to stay. Our generation, we really enjoyed it. And I think there was another place I was sent to. I remember Punjab, when there was so much problem there, doing leg dems in Punjab. But traveled to almost all states, and the experiences I learned a lot from it. I enjoyed, and I always used to look forward to a SPIC MACAY tour. The questions, I enjoy youngsters asking me questions. In fact, I tell my students, if you won't ask questions, please don't come to class, because I think I get invigorated when that gush of youth comes across to me in the form of a question.
Even trying to kind of discipline us as well, when it comes to us interacting with gurus such as yourself. So he would always tell us, he says, these artists, these gurus have led a journey with SPIC MACAY, they have contributed so immensely. So once we say that you contributed to SPIC MACAY, so indirectly that's the kind of the service that probably you have given to the society, because when we are trying to train youth, when we are trying to inspire them and motivating them, it's something that we are doing for our society at large, So I think we are in reverence to you and to each one who contributed.
I lost you. No sound.
Just to add to what Sapnaji said, it is because of artists like you who have been so cooperative in taking through all the inconveniences and hardships as we travel to nooks and corners of the country, just to make that small difference to a child who has never been exposed to art, maybe. So it's really an inspiring feeling for us to work when we see even artists cooperating so much and even wanting to share their art. So going forward,
but it takes two hands to clap. So SPIC MACAY brought it out of us, and we met halfway. and it has been a wonderful experience.
As we are coming towards the end of the discussion, we have actually a lot of students, dancers, artists, teachers, parents who are watching us today. I would like to know, what are your thoughts for those who want to pursue dance as a career? When is the right time they should consider it? And also, you little bit elaborated on artists requiring support from community, from friends. Can you talk a little more about what sort of support system it's required to nurture such students?
I think it's also very important that we have government and corporate support, because the sports receive a lot of support, whereas the arts do not. And this is not just the fate of art in India, it is the fate everywhere. Once grants get chopped, it's always the grants to the arts and that get thrown out first. Everything else is considered of more importance. But what people don't realize is, the sort of joy that you get from dance is something which will help you throughout your lives, whether you're a professional dancer or not. Why, in these days of the pandemic, it is you dance and you forget, for that at least point of that stretch of time, you forget about the pandemic and your fear vanishes. So when this is something, I think whether a child takes this up as a profession or not, forget profession, quote unquote, is one stage, seriously is another stage. I think it is very necessary for this to be encouraged, because it gives you a better quality of life finally. What can, if something can remove fear, then isn't it like a prayer? If it can remove fear, it negates fear. So it brings joy, which is again a great positivity. Negativity goes, positivity comes. So I think our arts, the dance, the music, the crafts, the painting, sculpture, everything does that. So I think they should be basically encouraged at home. And as I said, society, friends, the community, but definitely I think the government and the corporates should take cognizance of the fact that we talk about the responsibility of corporates. Why they should also include these music, arts. Similarly, the government must institute more grants, more scholarships, more fellowships. There are very few when you look at the volume of art and the plastic arts. Because if there is a support, now for instance, we now have the Tagore Fellowship and the Tagore Scholarship. Now this, for a person who's seriously into art, this is a means of sustenance. It helps you without having to bother where the next meal comes from. Let's accept it. Dal chawal nahi hai, to what are we talking about art? So the government can come a long way in doing a lot for us, taking us a little bit more seriously. Because there are other countries where, well, if you don't have performance, anybody for that matter gets a subsidy, and artists too. So they don't have to spend their time worrying about the nitty-gritties of practical life, but they can devote themselves in pursuance of dance or music.
Yes, I think it takes so much of a community's involvement to bring up an artist.
Yes. And the CSR should definitely include us, the corporates, and take us a little bit more seriously, because people sometimes think, oh, dance is entertainment, music is entertainment. It is not. It is something that gives you strength, something that gives you ability, that's something that makes you sharp, something that makes you physically fit, something that makes you keep your chin up, come whatever may in life. So I think it's important.
Yeah. Chitraji, I think you've rightly said that if our rich cultural heritage, it has to be preserved, we all have to take joint responsibility. And SPIC MACAY is able to do that and do its bit just because there are so many like you who are able to give their valuable time and support us in whatever way possible. So I think we've nearly come to the end of this discussion. And I really wish, we could just go on, but and the time is a limiting factor. So I thank you all, Chitraji. My heartiest thanks to you, and I also take this opportunity to invite you to JMK. Please do, please do come for your concert here. I would just love to host you, and my thanks to Damini, Apurva, and Dakshini, and everyone else who joined us, during this session. Chitraji, thank you so much for giving us your valuable morning time. It's, as I said, in the beginning, it's been a meditative experience for me, honestly.
Thank you so much. I so enjoyed interacting with you all, and
Yeah,
sometime later in the future again. Namaskar.
sure. Namaskar. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Namaskar.
Thank you all for joining us. Yeah.
life of SPIC MACAY's Anubhav series. After the wonderful interaction session with Chitra Visveswaranji, we will now continue with our Bharatanatyam dance workshop. I'm sure we are very lucky to experience all different kinds of flavors of culture during this pandemic too. I again welcome our Guru Apurvaji and her student Bhargavi. To all the students, mark your attendances via feedback forms on your dashboards. And if you have any questions for our Guru, please leave it in the comment section. Thank you. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much once again, Alankita. Good morning. Namaskar to everyone joining us this morning. I'm sure once again you've had a great start to your day with listening to a living legend of our time, Shri Chitra Visveswaran, speak to all of us and share so many beautiful things, so in such a simple manner, especially the importance that she stressed about dance being an interdisciplinary field, right? And that's something as students of dance, all of us need to really take away and pay attention to, is that it's not just about walking in and out of your dance class for 3 hours in itself. If only we allowed ourselves to really gain that immersive education. And like she said, there is ultimately can be no replacement to that relationship that you have with a teacher, with fellow dancers, with every avenue in life that gives you the opportunity to learn something. So wonderful, inspiring start to the day. So I hope all of you are now ready for us to get up and dance a little bit. All of us to come back to recap and be on the same page. Okay. So Alankita has brought up the presentation on our theme. So I'd like all of you to pay attention to which was the Griva Vedha. Right? After finishing the Pada Vedha, the variations of the feet, the Drishti Vedha, variations of the eyes, we went on yesterday to the variations of the neck, which are only 4 in number, but they're very beautiful and something that we employ very commonly to embellish and beautify our movements, right? So I want to remind you, like I said yesterday, there are 2 aspects in which you can learn Vedhas. One is the shlokam, which is written in Sanskrit as an entire sentence. The other is the name of the particular movement itself. And I've highlighted the name of the particular movements. You can see that in highlight. So the movements are Sundari, which is the right to left movement of the neck. Tiraschina, Prakampita, which is a forward and a back. Part of the entire shlokam, which says this and this and this. These 4 variations are the. Talk about it. As we're always told, go back, write down your whatever you have learned. As we're always told, go back, write down your whatever you have learned in class, etc. Right? But how do we write drawing little stick figures? Right? You can draw little diagrams to indicate whether your hand is here, or is it in Alapadma, or is your leg outside in Nate, important thing. And it takes time for us as students of dance to get a hang of that. So what we have in this next slide here is an indication of how you can start writing your rhythmic segments. Okay. And it's a very simple notation that you can utilize for yourself. Something that is just going to be useful for you is a comma can indicate 1 count, pause or a gap. But this pause in dance cannot be of random measure, right? So if we are counting our rhythmic cycle in a certain set of beats, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, so on, so forth. So a comma can indicate a pause of 1 count. Similarly, a semicolon can indicate a pause of 2 counts. Now, of course, or you can just simply write it as 2 commas. It doesn't matter, right? It's just about a shorthand notation that makes that. Writing our first beat in Maitakita with a single line. or put a line on top. Okay, either way, but a line indicates the second speed. What do we mean when we say second and third speed? These words that we use in English sometimes can be misleading, right? Because it looks like a linear progression of 1, 2, and 3. Actually, what we're doing is we're doubling the speed every time, right? So if I start with 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm creating double of it. So instead of 4 counts, there will be 8 counts with 7, 8. This will be my second speed, okay, what we refer to as second speed, or the madhya leg, what is referred to as madhya leg. And the third speed, which is the next level that we can go to, is a further doubling. It is not an increase by 1 or 2 or a gradual increase of the pace. No. It is a proper multiplicative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if you noticed, my fingers snap the same old 4 counts of the first speed, but within that I had set 16 syllables, right? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We started with. So a single line or a double line can indicate which speed you are. Okay, this is for all of you just to take away to be able to write your own notation. Even go out and write your Natadave or your Tataitahadave, whatever it is that you are learning in your own dance classes. Start beginning to use this notation to write. Okay, I'd like to move on to the next slide, where I'm now going to show you as an example the korvai that we learned yesterday. So all of you remember we learned was a standard, right? So we kept using the solikatte, takkitta, so on and so forth. But how can I write? It's the same notation, very simple. So the commas are the pauses. What did we start with? We start with the movement that is indicated by a solikatte. Wherever we are not moving, that is indicated by a pause. Okay? So if you follow what is on your screen right now, what we have is tam, 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 tak, 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 okay, so from this particular exercise that we have done, so every count, okay, that we have, the main counts, which you see on your screen is marked as count number 1, count number 2, count number 3, right? The very top row has the number of the count. So how do I count it? I count this ta, ki, da, ta, ki, da. 1, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, so on. Okay. So the original beats which I was snapping, remember 1, 2, 3, 4. That beat is what has been indicated here as numbers. 3 smaller sections, which is the takkitta. Does that make sense? So this particular korvai that we learned yesterday was set to what we call the Adi Talam. Okay, Adi Talam is the most common talam that we utilize in Carnatic music, in Bharatanatyam, which is a rhythmic cycle of 8 counts. And we count it in a very simple way. Okay, we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, was using each beat in Adi Talam. Okay, so what we have then is 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3. Okay, so in every cycle of 8, this rhythmic cycle of an Adi Talam, what do we have? We have 8 into 3 beats if we take the smaller divisions. Okay, so notice that that's what I marked on the such cycles. One is when we did this cycle to the right side. The other is when we did this cycle to the left side. Okay, and the third one was the last set of movements that we did. So moving on to the next slide from here, we just have a summary of what we have learned. Adi Talam is a Talam cycle of 8 beats. Okay, so you start from counter 1, go to 8, and do every single you to 3 counts rather than anything else. This is a choice I have made. Okay. So in such the word avartanam indicates a cycle, a completion of a cycle. Okay. So we have done 3 avartanams of this Aditalam in Tishranam. Is that clear? I hope that is helpful for you, because what we're going to go ahead and do is further examples of how rhythm can vary or rhythm can be explored upon. Okay. So hope you've noted that down and hope you have taken that in. Of course, this will be also available to you just on the video at a later point as reference. But it's good that you take a moment to understand this very important rhythmic idea, because we're going to go ahead further and utilize the same idea in different ways. Okay? Lovely. Thank you very much. Revise the Korve that we did yesterday. So we're going to start right from that today. Okay? So that we will be able to make a little more progress on the Korves that we are learning. Okay? So shall we all start with our Namaskaram first? So once again, I'm going to invite all of you to take a moment. Let's all stand in Samapadam. Push, like I said. Place your feet on the floor. Very strong. Let your feet really find it grounding. All your toes placed on the floor. Okay? Push yourself. Push. Take that effort and push. Tighten all your muscles in your thighs, in your core, in your spine, and feel like somebody. It's a very nice feeling. It's a very alive feeling for the body that is ready to move, right? So let's stay here for just 10 seconds. Close your eyes just for 10 seconds, and let's do 3 very deep breaths in. Breathe in. Breathe out. Take another deep breath in. Maximize the air you're taking into your lungs. And breathe out. Very nice. Now we're ready to do our Namaskaram. Hands in Patakamsa. Legs in Aramati. And let us start. Thadam, Kuttakati, 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 Mi, Ta, Cho, Ta, Mi, Ta, Cho, Three, down, down, down. Nice. So are we all ready to start by revising the Korve we did yesterday? Lovely. So I'm going to ask Bhargavi to show us in slow speed the Korve that we did yesterday. Okay? So that we can start with a simple revision. So let's do it one section at a time. We will do first only the right side and we stop. Okay? So that we rebuild it in sections. Let's start. And all of you join Bhargavi in doing this revision. Let's start. Dhalam, Uttak, Hikuttak, Tadim, Din, Tum, Ta, Ki, Ta, Ta, Ki, Ta, Ki, Ta, Ta, Ki, Ta, 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 Ki, Ta, Ta, Ki, Ta, Ta, Ki. Okay, this was the first section that we did, right? Where once again the rhythm. But what we are doing is only stamping the first count of the takita, right? Stamp, gap, gap. So there are 2 karves or 2 pauses after the stamp. So we have tam, 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 tak, or dhikta. Okay? On the right side alone, while we say it with the pauses as well. So even the Sulakata now is going to have the pauses in it. Okay? Dhalan, Uttak, Hikuttak, Tadim, Din, Tum, Tam, 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 Hik, Ta, Ta, Ki, Ta, Ta, Ki, Ta, Ta, Ki, Ta, Ta, Ki. Nice. Okay? So does that make more sense as you start listening out to the Sulakata and the pauses? The same section we repeat on the left hand side for the leg. The leg is exactly symmetric. The changes now is Natuvanga, right? The important instrument, the important member of our orchestra conducting Nice. Is that clear? So let's do it one more time now with the Solukatte itself having the pauses. Okay? One time. So this is now we have completed the right side and the left side. Okay? And remember, we are breaking at a significant point, right? Where it was one avartanam or one cycle of Adita and avartanam right now. Okay, let's do that. Okay, is that refreshed everybody's memories on the all three avartanams continuously one after the other? Okay, let's do it all together. All of you attempt to do it along with us. Okay, and like I said, if it is too much to put the hands and the legs together at this moment, do only the legs or do only the hands and the upper body. Put it together slowly. It doesn't matter, but try to keep up with us. Okay. Very nice. Lovely. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll keep coming back to this four-way. Okay, we'll revisit it after we've learned something new while our minds and our bodies are still. Continuation of this sequence, it is a second independent four-way that we are going to learn. Okay, once again in the same Adi Talam cycle. Now you understand what that is. The 8-beat cycle. But instead of doing it in Tishra Nadai, unit, sorry, not a cycle, it's a rhythmic unit of 5. So when I say Khanda Nadai of Adi Talam now, what do I mean? What am I doing to every count of the Adi Talam? I'm taking every beat of the Adi Talam and dividing it now into 5 smaller parts instead of 3 smaller parts. Does that make sense? So this is a very important concept that we use in Bharatanatyam, which you need to become familiar with, right? With the terms and what it is that we're actually doing over there. So, if we divide each count of the Adi Talam into 5 smaller counts each, how many counts do we have on the whole in one avartanam? Now we have 8 into 5 counts. Okay? So that's, we're going to depict different musical instruments. Okay, so that's going to be something that we're going to learn in parallel while also learning a new four-way with a new rhythmic structure. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to start first without the hands like we did yesterday. We do only our lower body and then we can proceed to the hands. Okay, so to start with our lower body, interestingly, now we are going to start with the position we have not explored so far in the last 3 days of the exercise, Murumandi position, right? That is something that we have not, movement from Murumandi is something that we haven't yet explored. So today we're going to do that. Okay, we start from the Murumandi position, go down fully, and we're going to create a jump. Okay, from the jump, I Okay, and this is going to happen in terms of takka, takki, 5 counts. Takka, takki, so let's do this. We do takka, takki, takka, takki, takka, takki, takka, takki. Okay, from here I'm going to start with that leg and do takka, takki, takka. Okay, let me do that one more time. I can do it very properly. So from here, what is it? Okay, a placement of the foot, the knee slightly bent. So once again, I'm using the Anshita position. Okay, 4 times, similar to a knot level. Okay, what we did for our knot level, which is an Anshita and a Samattatte. Okay, but with the knee slightly bent, giving it a different variation. Okay, so this leg movement is going to be same, doing it on the right side and the left side. So let's try doing it one more time, both on the right and on the left. 1, 2, 3, tap. Tap, tap, keep it, tap, tap, keep it, tap, 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 keep it, tap, 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 keep it, left, tap, keep it, tap, tap, keep it, tap, 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 keep it, tap, keep it, tap, keep it, tap. Is that clear? Does that make sense? Okay. So now I'm going to introduce a small change on the left side, okay, for us to create a little more variation. Instead of using Anchitam on the left hand side, we're going to do the turning around with the Kunchitam position. What would that mean? Now that we know all the terms, is that bringing up an image for you? How will we use Kunchitam instead of Anchitam? So instead of keeping my foot position there, if it's Kunchitam, what would I do? Can I do a Kunchitam there? I can't do it. So I have to bring it back near my head. Okay? That's going to be for the left hand side of the movement. Shall we try it one more time together? Right and left. 1, 2, 3. Okay, does that make sense? Very nice. So let's see what hands we're going to add to this. I told you it's the most important percussion instrument that we use for hasta. Okay, so how do we place this hasta? We don't want it to be too big. We don't want it to be too small, too much in front. So if you've noticed how Mridangam players play their instrument, they sit down. Okay, so usually they're seated on the floor, something of a between one knee to another, right? So you take the measure of it roughly from your Arabandi stump, so your movement is, right? So I don't want to be wider than my Arabandi, I don't want to be narrower than my Arabandi. Roughly that is your kind of a measure. Okay? So we're going to do the right side just with this hasta. You don't need to do anything with it except for create a very gentle movement of the wrist joint. Okay, let's start. We're going to do that, that, keep that, that, keep that, that, keep that, 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 keep that. So now you notice as soon as I bring up my hands, I start using my body, right? Because I know I'm playing the instrument, my upper body bends in response to that play. This position where my left hand is in Alapadma, right hand is in Pataka. Okay, and these are the smaller instruments, if you have noticed, the circular instruments, right? On which there is a surface and you play it with one hand to play the rhythm. Yes, so this is called the Kanchika in Carnatic music. So we show this to denote this hasta. Once again, we gently moving once again, I employ the movement of the upper body to enhance the quality of playing that instrument. Okay, shall we try this first sequence together? So I'm going to ask Bhargavi to do this in slow speed, okay, and one thing at a time, one side at a time. Let's do it. Bhargavi, is it possible for you to lower your screen a little bit so that your feet are also seen equally? Yes, yes. No, that's good. That's good. Not that much. That's fine. That's fine. Thank you. So that now we can see all of you. That's okay. So Bhargavi noticed what happened to your own hands. You became narrower and narrower and narrower as you did the other, right? So that is something that we want to prevent from happening. So it's very important to make sure. Remember that the mridangam is an instrument in front of you, right? So it cannot grow or shrink in size. It cannot size. It's going to drop from your hand or you're going to squeeze it all too much together. So it has to be kept in the same position that you start. Okay? So now let's go one movement at a time. Can we do it one section at a time? So let's start with the first position, the movement position. Start. Stay there. Now, what is important over here for all of you to notice is because for the first time we're employing movements in Murumandi, is an absolute straight spine, chin head up, looking forward. Very important. Don't look down. Very much depends upon how straight you hold your spine and how tight you hold your core. Okay, how much your core muscles are. One needs to pay attention to normally, which we don't, which we easily tend to overlook, is a kind of a bound Murumandi position is as stable and as strong as an Aramandi position. Okay, it is not a fluid position, so it is not something where you can rooted as that. Okay, so one of the very important things that we need to notice is, so the way we should not do it and our movement in movement. Absolutely no. Okay, which means if you are doing a bouncy movement, I'm going to show it to you turning. I'm going to face back and do the same thing, and I'm going to start by doing the wrong movement. Okay, and I want you to observe what it is that I'm doing. So if I drop, okay, so you see what is happening now. There is no gap between my heel and my back. Okay, so I try to go down with my back on my heel. So from here I can bounce if I have. So that is something that we don't want to do. How do I actually sit? What is the correct? So I come back up again for that, go down, and you see this control that I have in Aramandi. I'm going to maintain that control going down. And here, you see the gap that is there between my heel and my back, okay? Where once again, I create that diamond shape, okay? From my hip to my knee to my heel. That diamond shape is extremely important to keep. Okay, and when I jump, so you see the difference? It's not this, but it is this. Okay, does that make sense? This is a very common thing for the moment we start doing adavas in, Murumandi, like the Mandi adava, or say you're learning an Alaripu where you start doing your floor section. It is something to really pay attention to, because one is that it doesn't look nice if you're all loose and bouncy. So it's about visual aesthetic and visual appeal form. But the second important thing also to keep in mind is that if you do it wrong in a Murumandi position, you will hurt your body. Okay, invariably you're going to injure your knee. So for any of you who may have knee pain, going into an Aramandi position, going into a Murumandi position, or doing movements from there, please keep one thing in mind, that when your body creates a weird kind of pain, okay, it's telling you something. It's telling you that you're doing something wrong with your body. It's very important to listen to your body. And everything that we do in our classical art forms are thought out in a very, very beautiful way. So if you are doing the position correctly, with the right alignment, with the right approach, you can almost never injure your body by doing these movements. Okay. So if anyone tells you, oh, Aramandi in Bharatanatyam, yes, you get knee pain. No, you don't get knee pain. If you do it the correct way and if you do it with the understanding. And particularly with Murmandi, this very, very much applies. Okay. So shall we now do that movement one more time? On the right hand side, I'm going to ask Bhargavi to do it and all of you can join her doing it while being aware of the Murmandi. Okay, so let's start with the first position. 1, 2, 3, start. Takita, stretch. Okay, so now going around in this circle, I'm going to ask Bhargavi to do it again. All of you to do it with her one more time. Make the bend of the body a little more fluid, the upper body. Okay, so while the lower body is going to remain firm, we don't want to do okay. Instead, we want to do okay. Fluid upper body movements, strong lower body movements. So once again, we're creating a sort of a where we are juxtaposing two slightly different qualities for the upper and the lower body. Okay, let's try only the circle one more time. 1, 2, 3, start. Okay, nice. Now let's try the left hand side with the kanjira, the other instrument. 1, 2, 3, start. Okay, hang on there. So let's first concentrate on the hasta. Okay, it's like you have to have two hastas like this, one of which becomes the Anubhav. Okay, so both the hastas have to face each other. So it cannot be there and here. Start like this on your side and make the left hand into another. That's it. Okay, that's your position. Can we try the left side again? 1, 2, 3. Start. Bend nicely. Bend towards your right. Beautiful. And then start. Once more, can you now exaggerate the bend that you're using? Why? Because we're using kunchita, right? There is no possibility of bend. Does that make sense? When depending upon the position that you're using, the range of your body changes, and you need to pay attention to that, right? So if I were to place my leg like that, there is a certain range of body bend that looks nice. I might be able to bend like this, but that may not look very nice. So there is a certain range, but when I place it inside, I get the bigger range that looks nice, right? So let's create that bigger range while using our left hand side. Okay, let's do the left side one more time. 1, 2, 3, start. Okay, nice. So one more time, right and left together nicely and feel as though there is an instrument in your hand. Let this not be mere hastas. So for the first time now, within Nritta, we are employing hastas which also have meaning. Correct? So you have to start kind of depicting or feeling that thing that you are portraying. Let's start. Nice, good. So we're ready to go on to the next set. in this core weight. Okay, I'm going to show that to you. So we're going to next use an instrument plate with which is a cylindrical instrument with a surface on top. There are many instruments, percussion instruments that look like this, and we're going to use a pataka hasta on both hands from the top to play it from the top. Okay, but let's do the legs first as always. So we finish over here, and I'm going to now first start by moving towards my right diagonal. Okay, so I face my right side, and I'm going to move backwards towards the right diagonal by doing that. So here, one more interesting addition, that of the lift. Once again calls for balance. Once again calls for understanding where your body is and how to negotiate. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to do that, okay, so I have moved with the same movement, once to the right, once to the left, facing this diagonal, and I'm going to repeat that in the left. What does that mean? I turn to the left and I do that beat step, that beat step, that beat step, that. Okay, so now the thing to notice in the lift is the lift is not happening with the leg. The ankles are not loose. First rule. Second, the leg is not lifting away from the body. Okay, so I need to have tight suchi pada, tight pointed foot, and pointing towards the other leg like this. Very important. So you see as a reference, this toe is all pointing somewhere near the other knee. Okay, it should not be like. It should not be like. It is inwards. I am not touching. I am not placing. But at the same time, the direction of the leg is towards the other knee. This gives you lot more stability in that position. Okay, when you have your ankle pointed nice. The third thing to take care of is, just like in Anubhav, we don't want our weight to be upper body weight to move. If you do that, you are going to lose balance, right? It's very simple physics. So you have to keep your entire body somewhere, different points of your body within one line. For your position, if I take the body line out, I will fall. So the majority of your weight needs to be concentrated in that central line. Okay, so let's try to do the feet once again together. Do it along with me. Starting by facing your right diagonal. 1, 2, 3. Ta, ta, ta. Okay, and we're going to do this now by adding this hasta for every movement of the feet that you're creating. Ta, 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 ta. Okay, is that clear? Can you do it one more time? One more time with me. Hands and legs. 1, 2, 3. Ta, 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 ta. Okay, how does that work? Shall we try it together? Bhargavi, can you lead? And everybody's going to do it with you. 1, 2, 3, start. Dhik, ta, 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 dhik, ta. Okay. So, Bhargavi, can you, facing the center, can you show the lift of the right leg, the position to lift so the challenge here for any student is to hold in that position for a long time. Okay. So one thing I want you to notice in your own bodies, because I am not being able to view your body. I want you to really now create an awareness from your own body and notice whether you're doing this in order to lift. but it is not going to help us at all. The moment you do that, you're creating like a distortion and you're not creating strength for yourself to hold your leg up. So the very important thing to be aware of is there is no crunching either like this or especially if I'm lifting my right leg towards the right side. Okay? Keep your upper body straight and try to lift as much as possible with your upper body straight. Shall we try that? So lift the right leg. Yes. And that's fine. As much as you're touching your body slightly on the left side, which you want to avoid. Okay, this you need to avoid. Keep yourself straight. Try the left side again. All of you to notice your own bodies and see which side, how much you're actually creating that crunch. Remember that you have a surface below you. So create the sense of that sound, right? Tak, 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 tak. So don't use your hand in a manner that if you're using it with a tight pataka like this, how can you hit? If there is no movement in your wrist, you cannot beat an instrument, right? We don't beat an instrument like that. So you need to have a little flexibility in your wrist and imagine that you have struck. It's like this, right? You have to get that sense of that rebound from your hasta. That is what I mean by saying imagine the instrument in your hand. Let's try. 1, 2, 3, start. So, 2 hastas in front of you. First 2 movements smaller. Small third movement and take a large movement of the left hand. So why am I doing that? Why do you think I'm doing that? Why am I asking you to take a long movement only for the last one? Because we are paying attention now to the rhythm. Okay? For the last, I'm doing hit, ta, hit, and there is a gap of 4 counts, right? In my ta, 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 ki, ta, I'm only stamping the first, and the 4 counts are a gap. That is the gap that I'm filling with the hand. Okay? Whereas in the first 2, I have smaller count range. I have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? So it's the non-striking hand which is taking the leisure to come back over there. Okay? If we do all of them with big hands, then it loses, first of all, loses its beauty. Second of all, loses a sense of realism as well. Right? It's not going to look like you're playing the instrument. It's going to look like just movements that you're doing. So shall we try to implement that gap? 1, 2, 3, start. Nice. So let's go now from the beginning and revise here. The korve is not yet over. We have a little more to complete before the korve is over. But before which, let's revise from the beginning to here. Shall we try that? So the right side is Dinanga, left side the Ganshira, and the third one center. All 4 directions with this. Okay, come. 1, 2, 3, start. Let's do that again, Bhargavi. So what did we do here that was slightly, what changed about the rhythm here? Remember that you have 2 takatakitas per movement. That's important to remember. Okay? Mudumandi is 2 takatakitas, stretches 2 takatakitas. 1, 2, 3, start. Takatakita, takatakita. Takita, takatakita, takatakita. Dikta, 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 dikta. Takatakita, takatakita, very nice. Nice. Does everyone get a hang of what we do? Bring it to some kind of a conclusion. Okay. So once again, starting with the feet alone. We're continuing in 5. Okay, that's very clear. We're going to stay with the rhythmic structure of 5. But now I'm going to fill that 5 with the first. So I'm doing a tatta double. First tatta double. Right, left, right. Right, left, right. Once in arithmetic, once in sum. Right? I'm doing 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 10. Okay? Does that make sense? So let's do that continuously once together. 1, 2, 3. Start. Is that clear? Very simple. In front of your body, left hand on top of your head. Okay? So from here, I'm going to open the bottom. So what am I doing with my hand? It's an alternate open of the bottom hand, open of the top. So each time I'm alternatingly using. Is that clear? And notice what am I doing with my neck? So I'm employing once again the Diva Veda, employing this movement. What was it called? 1, 2, 3. In the second case, I'm not attaching any Diva Veda, I'm only using the movement of the eye and the head, which was full looking up. Okay, so you see how for every movement that we do, all the ideas that you learn, the variations that you learn, come into play very beautifully. Okay, so once again, I'm going to do tuck, 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 tuck. Similarly, turn around, tuck, 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 tuck. Okay, shall we try that with our feet once? 1, 2, 3, tuck. Okay, nice. Now to complete the Bharatanatyam, we're going to do something a little. Remember, our Tattamated we've already learned. It's a combination of 1 samam and 1 takita, which we've already done plenty in the first two. Okay, so it's going to be okay, so here's it's a little more complex. Observe, stay with me. We're going to do jump and jump now once again in Murmandi, which is where we started the forward. Okay. Is that clear? I did while using the Tamara Chura. With my eyes and shoulders. Now the right hand goes in a circle above the head. I'm going to follow that right. This thing. I'm going to follow the left hand circle above the head. Follow both the hands as they come forward and down into your movement. Alright? One more time with the feet now. Do it along with me. Keep doing it along with me. Keep that. Is that clear? Okay. So shall we all try that now together? I start from the right side. 1, 2, 3, start. Okay? Nice. So let's see what we have. Can we do it so that people, everyone, all the students can follow you, dance with you? Okay? Yeah? Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. So when you do the movement, it doesn't have to be a Let's try to stay in place, and both the times we start from the same side. So it's right there. Takita, takka, takita, takka, takita, takka, takita. Then move on to the next part. Takka, takita, tei, 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 takita. Nice. And stretch your hand forward straight. Let your hands be parallel to each other and reach to the floor. Nice. Yes. Bring your hands slightly closer together so that it's not going out like that when it comes towards the center. Nice. One more time. Shall we do the Good. Nice. So now, are we all ready to put it all together? This is the end of the Korve. Okay. So we're going to go right from the beginning and try to do the entire sequence. It's a slightly longer sequence than our Tishra Nadai Korve. Right? This Khanda Nadai Korve is slightly longer. So let's try to do it from the very beginning. Slowly. Takita, takka, takita, 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 watch your hands. The last Avantaram, right? From there we need to go. So start again the last Avantaram. 1, 2, 3, start. Good. So that twice more, I think, right? So that we can get it into our bodies, we really understand what's going on, and then we'll take a quick breather. Okay? Let's do it from the beginning. 1, 2, 3, start. Very nice. Is that making sense to everyone? I'm just going to check to see if we have any questions up here to people. Yeah, I don't see anything in particular about the Korve itself, but there are some questions. Okay, Sandhya asks, is there a slight jump before the Murumandi? Yes, of course, Sandhya. There is a jump in the Murumandi for us to mark the position. Okay, so in Murumandi, we can either just sit into it the way we sit into Aramandi, or we can also create a jump. In this case, we are doing two different kinds of jumps. For the initial part, okay, we are doing a jump in Murumandi. So here, what am I doing? I am lifting, making sure both my toes come off from the floor, and I'm doing that. Okay, so it's basically lifting off both your feet from the ground. That is for the initial pose. Okay? Right at the very end, we are starting from Aramandi, taking one leg at a time, the way we did the first Korve, right? We did this, jumping in the Samapada. We're doing the same movement in Aramandi and jumping into Murumandi. Okay, so there is a jump in both the cases, and we have jump in Murumandi. This is from Tushin, and Anvesha asked me to show the jump once again. Of course, we can see it once again. Okay, so let me first address those two ideas. So for the first part of the Korve, okay, the jump of the Murumandi happens in the very first beat. So we have two taka takita, right? Taka takita, taka takita. The first ta of the taka takita is where your jump happens for the first group. Okay, so let me demonstrate that for you. So from here, if I have 1, 2, 3, taka takita. Okay, so the very first count is where we're going into the movement jump. Does that make sense? That's for the first one. For the very last one, we are going on takita, right? So the last part is takita. So 1, 2 is in the takta. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Takita. This is a variation for the two possibilities. So once again, I'm going to show you just these three jumping portions. Okay? It is, let me show you so that you can see. No matter what jump we do, we are placing ourselves into that very same position. Okay? Very nice. I am going to come to that, but before we lose the warmth in our body, one last time of doing the Korve. Okay? Let's take it. So I'm going to ask once again, all of you, please do it along with Bhargavi, do it with us. And if it's too complex, concentrate on either your lower body or upper body. Okay, but definitely give it a try. Don't give up. 1, 2, 3, start. Oh, apologies. I think we lost. Sorry, Bhargavi, can you hear me? I think I lost your video for a very small bit. I don't know if that was the case for our audience as well. Sorry. So can we just quickly take the Korve one more time? Can you hear me? Yeah, look at it from my end. Continue doing Korve, okay? Don't stop. So far as the audience can see you, they can stay along with you. Okay, let's try to do it once through. We seem to be having a few, I think, connection issues. But take it from the top again. 2, 3, start. Takita, 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 I think that's a good point for us to take, all of us to take a break, okay? A 5-minute break, to have a sip of water, to just allow your body and your mind to refresh. And as we do that, we'll see whether there are any questions from you that I can take. Nita, who asks, can we use different variations in the steps by using different adavus, or is this a fixed format? So, Nita, this Korve is very similar to a sentence that we form. Okay, so when we formulate a sentence from words, there is a certain there are certain rules, right? We cannot take the words and put it in any order. There are certain intrinsic rules as to how to place it. You start with the noun, and it goes to the verb. The tense is important, so on and so forth. So similarly, there are some basic underlying principles, I would say, not rules, that guide you on how you can create a sentence. But beyond that, you can make any sentence that you want, right? That is up to your creativity completely. So what I am showing you now, these Korves I have created so that we can practice it together. There is no such thing as a fixed sentence that has to be used in exactly the same way. Okay, so you're free to create sentences as you please when you understand the principles underlying it. That having been said, what we also do in dance is we respect the integrity of a choreography or a choreographer. So if you're, for instance, learning a song, okay, which has been taught to you by your teacher, we normally try not to make any changes within that song that has been taught to you. Why? You're just staying true to the integrity of the choreographer, the thought of the choreographer. You are very free to start and compose a new song all on your own, a new choreo all on your own. This is, I think, very similar to, say, if we are singing a film song, right? You sing the film song as it is, no? Usually, in fact, to the extent of the number of repetitions that have been sung, where the pauses are, we usually very faithfully follow the original, isn't it? Why? It's just we are respecting the composition as it exists. The same rules will apply to Bharatanatyam as well, to respect the original composition. So if you've learned something, don't meddle with it. But that is only one person's story. You can feel free to create your own story and your own choreos and songs and sequences along with the others. Okay, hope that answers your question. Okay. There was some question about Bharatanatyam performance as well as practices. Please explain. So the common instruments today that we definitely use for a performance, Alka, are the Natuvangam is the very first thing, right? So the Natuvangam is a combination of two things. Of course, it's not just the physical instrument that we play. And what I can do is tomorrow during class, I can also bring the Natuvangam so I can show you how it looks and how it may be played. Okay. The Natuvangam as well as that will be the same person who will say the Sollakattu, the bowl. Okay, so this combination is the primary thing. Cannot do a Bharatanatyam performance without this, because this person is like the conductor, right? It's like the person who conducts an orchestra, the one who keeps control. This is the person who keeps everything integrated, the entire orchestra integrated. Okay, of course we have the vocalist. There is no, I'm not going into that because we're talking about the instruments. The main percussion support for Bharatanatyam is the mridangam. Okay, it's the instrument which is also the main percussion support for Carnatic music concerts, whether it's a vocal concert or an instrumental concert, which will be the main one. Without that, we don't function. And similarly, we have one melodic instrument which will support, which could be the violin or the flute. It tends to be a lot more the violin these days, but either one of these, the violin or the flute, tend to be the main support. You can, of course, extend this and use a veena to support you. You can use a kanchira to support the percussion. So it's up to you. You can expand this orchestra to however large you want and how many sounds you want. But the basis is always these four people. The vocalist, the Nattuvanar, or the person who plays the Nattuvangam, the Mridangam artist, and either the violin or the flute artist. Okay. As far as class is concerned, of course, nowadays, you heard Chitraka just speaking earlier about how practice in those days, in the times that she was learning, was so it's such a charming world, and things are so different back then. Today, we don't have the advantage of practicing with every single musician every day, unfortunately. But the absolute must for the teacher is the Nattuvangam part, right? So we tend, if we are not using the Nattuvangam, we tend to use the Tattukadi inside the class, which is just a wooden plank with a wooden little stick that you can create the beats on it with, and the Sollakattu, right? So the teacher who is teaching the class, so the person who's conducting the class, tends to sing as well as say the Sollakattu. So that's usually what we restrict our classes to. Performances become more extended. Okay. Ridley asks, what is the name of the second instrument used in the four-way? So that is called a ganjira. Ridley. Okay. Look it up. So I will request all of you to simply just Google these things if these instruments are unfamiliar to you. The first one was a mridangam. Second one was the ganjira, which is a circular instrument like this with a flat surface, okay, and a hide on it, which is what you play. Okay. movements we can do to improve poses and balance. So I did share yesterday, Yamini, some simple exercise, not yoga poses, but just a simple exercise of lifting one leg up and looking in front, okay, keeping your samadrishti, and then after you're used to that, to close your eyes and do the same. So that's a simple exercise that can improve balance. When it comes to yoga poses, many of them can improve your balance. One is the tree pose, which we do in one leg, right? So this thing where we place our leg here, yeah, and take our hands above our head. This is a very good and relaxed. Okay, so what I've done is I've made the weight of this leg pushing to the weight of that leg, so that my hip is in that direction and the weight is actually biased towards the left. That's not going to help. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to bring the head down to the center, head forward. Okay, so that is a straight line from your toe to your head, and then you hold this position up. So exactly that, right? So that can be done for the right and the left. You can also do the positions that we lift. So you're basically, I can't do it, it's not going to show very well when I do it in a sari, right? But what you're essentially doing is you have one foot planted on the horizontal. You have like a kind of a T shape in your body, which similarly you can also do while facing that direction. Right? So from here, if I turn around towards that direction, right? And so basically, you have to make sure that the leg that is supporting you is really tight, okay, and held up with straight knees and tight muscles. And similarly, don't, have your head too close to you, and allow yourself to squat whichever direction. Even if it's the floor, you need to be able to move directly below you so that you hold up your balance. Extend the other leg, the leg that is being lifted up, extend it out nicely. So that extension that you create in all the muscles will really make sure that your core begins to strengthen and tighten, because you're pulling in all directions and creating extension for your core. Okay, so those are a couple of things that might help for balance. So Tushin asks, can you please illustrate some rasas used in Durga Stotram? It will be a pleasure to limit it at all, right? When it comes to something like Devi, something like Durga, we can actually employ all the 9 rasas if we so wish. Yeah. So that is something that is very much dependent on the composition and what the composition allows you to do. So it has to be specific to the song that we take. I could try and maybe, if time permits, I can use some time in tomorrow's class to possibly show some excerpts from a Devi piece, just to see how these different variations are handled. So if time permits, I will definitely do that. I promise to do that. But also in the process of even today, if time, I think we'll do it today. We'll learn a little bit of Abhinaya. So we will also have a chance to explore Abhinaya together. Okay, so let's get to that. Then what do we have? Find questions that we can find. And how many are there? How many rasas are there? So this prescribed to us as part of the Natya Shastra text frame is 9 rasas, which includes the Shanta rasa, right? The one of peace or neutrality or calm. A rasa is it's actually a very complex idea, but a very simple way to understand it would be thinking of it as 9 emotions that we can have. This could be things like anger, sorrow, disgust, love, courage, so on, so. Okay, fear, what have I left out? Shanta or peace. wonder, adbhuta, and there's clearly one rhyme. Happiness is not defined as a rasa as such. That is why, because it's a good point, Bhargavi. Happiness can be a very vast area, right? And then for you to have happiness due to many reasons, right? I can be happy because I'm in love. I can be happy because I've been wonderstruck by something. So happiness is a bit more generic, and the rasas try to kind of slot your emotional experience in a much more specific area than that. Okay, so I'm sure you'll come to me. I just have to go through all the 9 again to pick up on the 9. But these are emotion. We think of it as emotional experiences. Okay, so I can emote or use a certain expression or a bhava as a performer to evoke in the audience the rasa that I am trying to evoke. Okay, so for instance, I could convey an entire love story, okay, between a hero and a heroine, with the intention of evoking in the audience the rasa of love or the rasa of Shringara. Okay, so the important thing to understand in rasa is it is ultimately the emotional experience that you want to give your audience by doing extended things as a performer. Right? So I don't have to constantly keep showing love for the audience to feel love, but it could be a whole story that is surrounded around this love story of 2 people. Okay, so that's the idea of rasa in very short. I simplified it greatly, trying to answer this. And Sandhya asks, kindly tell us something about Shringara Rasa. Can we do it to depict Vatsalya? So, Sandhya, so Shringara Rasa, the way we understand it today, when we say the word Shringara, we already understand it as romantic love today, okay, in the common parlance of Bharatanatyam. But what is true is that love, the idea of love, is already classified in 3 types, okay. One is Bhakti Shringara, which is devotional, the love that you feel towards a deity, a mentor, or like where there is some kind of a hierarchy, a looking up to, an admiration, right? That kind of a love, which is called Bhakti Shringara, which of course mainly comes from the concept of the love that you have for a divine being. Then we have Vatsalya Shringara, which is the love between a parent and a child, that is shared between a parent and a child in that relationship. And we have the idea of Rati Shringara. Rati Shringara is what is romantic love. Okay, so these are 3 shades of love or categories of love that have been sort of codified, within which we can play. But today, in common usage, when we say Shringara itself, we're beginning to mean Rati Shringara. So you have to be a little careful about the usage today, because if someone says, for instance, that I'm doing a Shringara Padam, it already means they're doing a Padam of romantic love. That's how we started using the word. And we tend to say a Vatsalya Padam, right? Or a piece on Vatsalya means a piece that is about a parental love towards the child. So it's just different forms of love. You don't have to use one to depict the other. There is no overlap at all between Rati Shringara and Vatsalya Shringara and Bhakti Shringara as such. Okay, so you don't need to use one to depict the other. They're just different forms of love. Okay. Savita asked a very interesting question, and I'm going to take that as the last question for this section before we move on. Tell us something about. Savita, hastas are something that allow us to further qualify the stories that we are telling. Okay, so Bharatanatyam, like I said initially on the first day, has 2 very important components. One is the, for want of a better word in English, to say the technical side, okay, which we call Nritta, basically, which is the body movement, pure movement vocabulary of the body, which does not narrate any specific story, but which creates dance for us, right? Which creates movement with the body. So it's the dance aspect with the body. And the other thing is the idea of abhinaya, which is the narrative side, okay, where we can express any thought that we have in our mind. It doesn't have to be a story. It could just be a thought, right? It just could just be a moment where I'm thinking, a moment where I'm saying, what are you saying? Anything, any thought that I have in my mind, when I communicate it to another person using my entire body, okay, that's a very important thing, is abhinaya. Hastas, or the use of the hands, is one part of it. It is one, it's an important part, but it is one part of it. So let's say I don't use my hastas at all, okay, and I'm only trying to use my face, and then I say, do you understand the emotion that I'm trying to communicate? So the first one was wonder, the second one was disgust. So to communicate a basic emotion, ultimately, I need to use my mind, and that reflects in my face and reflects actually in my entire body, right? Now, the moment I'm disgusted, just employing my eyes and my face, but my entire body in doing this. And further going on, you can also, in Angika Abhinaya, proper positions are also used, right? There are prescriptions of how you can walk if you are in anger, how you can walk if you are in love, how you can walk if you are fearful, so on and so forth. So the entire body can be employed to communicate an emotion. If you take hastas out of it, it is not that we are losing abhinaya, but it is a very important part of the body and we employ it. So it is not that there is no, I think it's very difficult to say. I will not say, oh, Bharatanatyam is still there or is not there without the hastas at all, but it is a part of the language. That's all. Think of it also like the complexity of ideas that we can express, the better and better we know a language, right? Now, if you know a very basic level of English, I know yes, no, don't come, come, I know these kind of words, I will understand the language at a certain level. But if I have grown up with the language and learned it for very, very many years, maybe then I begin to understand nuances of poetry, nuances of literature as well. It's the same kind of a thing. Eyes, facial expression, universal. Anybody in the world will understand what you're doing, right? Body language, pretty universal, right? Largely, the fear is shrinking, right? Or Vivatsam is moving away, disgust is moving away. This is all very common ideas. But beyond this, when I start using specific movements of the body, I am going into the specialization of the language of Bharatanatyam, for which the more you understand it as a performer, the more one understands it as an audience, you begin to go into the nuances and the layers of language. That's all. It's just at what depth you are looking at that language, but it is not that without hastas, Bharatanatyam has no meaning. Not at all. Right? So that we can have a little more collection of questions before we move on. But let's spend this last 20 minutes or so that we have on learning now a little bit of abhinaya component of a song that I want to do. It is just going to be a small shlokam. It's a very, I think it's a very interesting and a relevant shlokam for us as dancers, because if you remember the very first day, we started with this idea of namaskaram, explaining and understanding the idea of namaskaram as something paying respect to the space that supports us, right? Which includes the floor, the earth, as well as the stage or the platform, the space in which we dance, okay? So this is a stuti or a shlokam, which is expressly towards the Ranga Devata, okay? The goddess of the stage. Ranga is the stage or the space where we perform in. So it is a paying obeisance and respect to the Ranga Devata. I'm going to tell you the words first before we start. It's very important to understand the words. Bharatakula Bhagya Kalike. Bharatakula Bhagya Kalike is the one who is a descendant of the Bharatakula. Why Bharatakula? the kula that comes in the practice, the generations have followed in the practice of a particular idea of natya, right? A particular idea of performance tradition. So the kula of Bharata kula, bhagya kalike, the one who is blessed with being a descendant or being a part of that lineage of the Bharata kula. Bhava rasananda parinita kare. So the one who is the very embodiment of bhava rasa ananda. Okay, we just spoke about this concept, the idea of creating an emotion which evokes a rasa or a response from your audience. So this bliss that is created from this bhava rasa, you are an embodiment of that very bliss. Okay, Jagadeka Mohana Kale. In all of the world, in the entire world, in the entire cosmos, this is the most enchanting, the most beautiful kala, the beautiful set of arts that are among all that exist in the world. Jaya Jaya Rangadi Devate. I salute that Devata, that Devi, who is the Devata of the Ranga, with support. Okay, so now today we are going to do something very simple. Today we are going to learn two variations, two ways of saying the same line. We have 4 lines. Each line we are going to learn 2 variations today. Tomorrow we are going to see how the shlokam and the 4 ways that we have learned can slowly form a larger part, and how can they come together. So how can this Nritta and Abhinaya come together for us to communicate the underlying meaning of this? Okay, so let us start by learning this seated down. We're not going to do it standing up yet, so that we can focus now on the hastas as well as the facial expressions. Okay, so I'm going to move slightly back so that you can see me, see all of my upper body at the length of my hasta. Okay, Bharata kula bhagya kalike. So what are we saying? We're now taking Bharata kula to be our kula, the kula that all of us as dancers and students of dance, we are also inheritors or followers in the same kula, right? The same practicing. Bharata kula, born in this kula, bhagya, fortunate to have been born. That is you, belonging to this. So this hasta that we use like this is called the Sambodhana hasta, where, remember we said we can show you with Padaka hasta like that, but this I can use for somebody later. When I'm talking to a deity, when I'm talking to a king, what do? I use a slightly more extended version of you to say the same idea respectfully. Okay? So let's try that once again. Bharata. Okay, that is our first variation. The second variation, we do Bharata kula bhagya kalike. All of us, this kula of Bharata, you are the protector or the keeper, the preserver of this kula. So as the Devata blessing, and we transform to her. Bhagya kalike. Okay. Bharata kula bhagya kalike. The one who is the embodiment of this power is the Anand. from the person watching. This Ananda, this bliss, you are the very embodiment of your form represents this Ananda. Okay, one more time, let's do it together. Rasan. Parinita. So what are we doing? Once again, in the second variation always, we take a little liberty to go away from the exact words, but to still portray what we are trying to say. So like the nectar that overflows, or the nectar which is the essence of a flower, almost like that, the rasa, the experience of the rasa is like that, right? It is being steeped in the essence or the flavor of that thing. So we are using the imagery of the nectar from the flower overflowing, full of its essence, and reaching the person experiencing. Her entire form, is nothing but that, a representation of that. Okay, so let's try to do the second line, both hands together. Bhavarasananda Pari. Is that clear? So we move on to the third line. Jagadeka Mohanakare. In all of the world, this is enchanting, most enchanting art. Okay, so Jagadeka, all the world, the entire universe, it is the foremost, beautiful, enchanting art form. Okay, so Jagadeka, above everything else in this world. So all of the world, we show it with both our hands. Above that, above everything else, is this art. Okay, our dance form to depict the dance form itself. Okay, so one more time, the two variations of Jagadeka. Okay? Okay, how are we doing so far? I'm just going to check on time to see whether we can move on to the last couple of lines as well. I think we have time for the last two. The variations for the last line. Well, Jaya Jaya Rangadi Devade. Very simple line. Okay, but not complicated. So Jaya Jaya Rangadi Devade. earth. We take it to our eyes, we add respect, and finish with the namaskar. Okay, is that clear? So let's do a quick going through of the entire shloka with the 2 variations for each line. And with that, we will finish class today. Take a few more questions. I know there were some questions pending that I had to answer. So let's once very quickly go over this. We will be revisiting it tomorrow. So don't worry if something is unclear. We can always spend a little more time on the shloka in depth. Okay. The essence. Jaya Okay, with that, we will finish our session today. I think before we rest, let's finish our namaskara and then we come to the last time, maybe 2 questions or whatever that we have left. Okay, so join me. Paramati, position. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. And 5 minutes more. So quickly, whatever questions that we can take and we had pending. So let me try to go back to. So Yamini said, okay, I think, sorry, Yamini is responding to perhaps a question about how to show a peacock, which we can show with the Mayura Hasta, like that, mainly indicating the feathers. So thanks, Yamini, for responding to that. Soma asks, what is the best way to not get nervous on stage? Because sometimes nervousness spoils my dance. So this was something we spoke about maybe a couple of days back, Soma. There is no one answer to it, or there is no like things that you can do, right? So what I shared last time was that the more you dance in front of an audience, that nervousness definitely eases out over time. So I think one answer to that is just simply experience. And the second simple answer is forget that there is an audience in front of you and try and just enjoy the dance. Dance for yourself. Dance like you're dancing for yourself in your class, right? So it's just about a mindset that you go on stage with. But of course, it's not something that will come on the first try or the second try. So it's with years of performing, you learn to not get rid of your nervousness, because like I was saying, I still get nervous before I go on stage even now, but you learn to be able to keep it under control so that it doesn't spoil your performance. Okay, hope that is helpful. Honestly, I don't think I have one rasa which is a favorite like that at all, because I think it's for me, what I enjoy is the context in which like the context that a particular song brings for us, right? And the space it gives you to emote or express yourself. So it's very much song specific for me, and I don't think I have a bias towards any one particular rasa, honestly, very honestly. Sri Devi says, what are the tips to reduce knee pain? What advices are there for women who started studying Bharatanatyam at a later age? So, Sri Devi, like I said earlier, if you are very conscious, so knee pain usually tends to happen in the Aramandi or the Murumandi positions when used incorrectly. Okay, so if you have a knee pain in a particular position, the first and very clear indication is that you may be doing something wrong in that position. So pay attention to it, refer to your teacher perhaps to find out what it is movement-wise you're doing wrong. Okay, so the simple tips for the knees is that lifting the leg in Tattadave or Natadave, lifting inward is something that takes the pressure off the knee. Okay, the other thing is to watch your alignment between your toes, knees, and hips. This is a very quick thing I'm going to show you. So what happens is the tendency many times in Aramandis, people turn up their feet much more than they can handle. Okay, but the knees tend to come forward. Can you see what I'm doing? So my toe is facing there, but okay, the knee goes. You see how I'm twisting the entire leg forward. This is a very common error, which done even very slightly, even if you're doing it 5%, it puts a pressure on your knee because it's twisting your knee joint, and that is not good for your knee. In Murumandi, what I demonstrated today about not bouncing in Murumandi is very, very, very important thing for you to preserve your knee. So try to maintain that diamond shape, hold yourself up. Okay, these are only, I mean, I'm just giving you quick things, right, to kind of think about and pay attention to. But if you are tending towards the correct posture and the correct usage of the body, the knee should not fail. As somebody who's starting to learn as an adult or maybe resuming after a gap, you just have to remember that your body, while it is capable of doing anything, you can train your body to do anything, it needs that much more time to get there. That's all. A child can get up, jump, roll around, do anything that we ask them to almost immediately. As an adult, all of us have to take care that we need to warm our bodies up properly, and we need to take it at slower bite-sized levels. So don't be in a hurry to get to an item, to learn a varnam, to do a performance, because I think that's a problem as adults we face, because we tend to learn fast. Our minds learn fast, but our bodies don't keep up. So try to pace out your learning, and I think that would be a good sort of an indication. It's 12 o'clock, so maybe that should be a good moment for us to stop. Anupita? Or yes?
Yes, ma'am, it's almost time.
Okay, so wonderful. I don't know if there are any questions that are left out, but if that is the case, joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow so that we can put this all together and finish our Ranga Devatas. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, Bhargavi. All the students kindly join us for our afternoon session at 2 p.m. and evening session at 6 p.m. Thank you.